Resistance Fall of Man is a first-person shooter game developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was released in 2006 for the PlayStation 3 console, and it was the first game in the Resistance series. The game is set in an alternate history timeline in which Earth was invaded by a hostile alien race known as the Chimera, or Chimera, however you want to pronounce it, right? In this essay, we will take a retrospective look at the game, focusing on its gameplay, story, lore, development, and legacy. Resistance Fall of Man is an acclaimed first-person shooter game, and it was created by the renowned game development studio Insomniac Games. Its code name while it was under development was actually I-8. No idea why. The studio, best known for its Spyro and Ratchet and Clank series, as along with more recently they developed the new Spider-Man game and its sequels. They decided to venture into the realm of darker and more mature games around the time of 2003 to develop this game. As they kind of moved away from, Spyro and Ratchet and Clank and kind of that more cartoony, I don't want to say kids games, but, they definitely weren't mature. At the time, Xbox 360 was already out with its, maybe the best Halo, Halo 3, around the time of 2006, and Sony wanted a strong competitor in the genre. Initially, the concept for Resistance Fall of Man was quite different from what eventually came to be. The game was originally set in the future where space marines battled giant lizards. However, the development team realized that this setting kind of lacked realism and the players weren't going to be able to connect with it as well. So the team made the decision to change the game setting to an alternate 1950s scenario where World War II never happened and Russia never went communist, and it's set in 1950s England. And instead of space lizards, you fight the Chimera, a race of human-alien hybrid type things. The team hoped that by combining sci-fi elements with a real-world relatable setting, they could create a game that stood out from the crowd. The game studio really shows its roots when it was developing this game, because just like Ratchet and Clank, Resistance Fall of Man provides players with exciting levels to explore, a diverse range of enemies to confront, and a pretty impressive array of weapons and gadgets to engage in battle with. They have a huge weapon wheel. The game boasts beautifully designed levels ranging from bustling streets to the alleys of London. Then you can go even more like eerie underground tunnels and icy landscapes featured in the later parts of the game. I think the game's maps each offer a pretty unique variety of landscapes and buildings, and each have their own kind of unique objectives and features. Sometimes you're driving a vehicle, sometimes there's different traps to avoid, different types of enemies. I think they make each mission and level feel unique. Resistance Fall of Man's gameplay is a blend of classic FPS mechanics with some unique features that set it apart, or at least try to. It's up to you whether it works for you or not. The game's split screen and co-op mode is one of the standout features. You can play the entire campaign co-op, which I loved when I was younger, playing with my brother or my sister. The game's online competitive mode is also notable for its support of up to 40 players with little to no lag. That might not seem like the craziest deal today, but hey, back in 2006, my god, 40 players? I remember when the original Battlefront, man, that was like 6v6. Crazy what they were doing just back then, even compared to now. In addition, the game even features a 4-player split screen mode and multiplayer for those who want to relive their GoldenEye days. Resistance Fall of Man is an old school FPS with no rechargeable health bars and no checkpoints every 2 minutes. I think the game's difficulty, it's a little hard, especially if you're going on the higher difficulties and you want to challenge yourself. You really got to fight for every scrap of health. It's a little challenging to complete. Players are likely to die many times during the game. And the co-op mode, I think it adds some intensity to the gameplay if you play through the campaign with a friend. Because they're able to revive you. There's just more going on. I don't think the NPCs in this game, your human allies, are super competent. They'll kill some Chimera, but having another person there can help out a lot. One of the game's standout features is its array of weapons. Players get an interesting lineup of human and Chimera weapons, each with a primary and secondary mode. Some of the weapons, such as the auger, which you can use to see and shoot through walls, and it can also throw up a shield, are super cool. I mean, the game relies on players kind of picking the right tools for the job, which I find like a really cool, interesting concept. You got to pick the gun that helps you out the most in that scenario. It adds a nice strategic element to the gameplay. I think the bullseye might be the most iconic weapon from the series. Maybe the M5A2 carbine or whatever that the US soldiers use, also pretty iconic. But I think the bullseye, I mean, its secondary mode of fire allows you to tag an enemy, and now all of your bullets follow that tag, hence the name bullseye. I thought that was pretty cool and a really unique weapon. I find the gameplay, I mean, I think the gameplay, it's pretty standard FPS stuff except for the weapons and enemies, which I do think help a lot to kind of remedy the fact that you're just going to be shooting at things the whole game. I think they definitely make each map and encounter feel a bit more unique. I mean, I think the game holds up pretty well. It came out almost 20 years ago, which makes me feel pretty old. Like, oh my god, it came out in 2006. I mean, I still think it's fun to play, and it doesn't. Okay, it looks like it came out in 2006. Don't get me wrong, it looks rough. But it plays, it plays like a nice, decent 2018 kind of game. I still think it holds up, and you can have fun if you just play it now. So I think the story is also really interesting. In the midst of the 1950s, humanity finds itself engaged in a brutal war against an enigmatic alien race known as the Chimera. These, I don't know, there's a lot of them. There's like insect-like creatures. There's more humanoid ones. They're all capable of infecting humans with a mutating virus that converts them into Chimeran fighters. So the Chimeran's march of conquest has already claimed Russia, leaving behind nothing but death and devastation. Nobody's heard anything from Russia since they started their attack. And now their sights are set on England, as all of Europe has already fallen in a matter of days. And the British Army has to prepare to defend their homeland against the relentless onslaught of Chimera coming. Because originally, Britain thought they were safe behind the English Channel, but then the Chimera were able to dig under the English Channel, which seems weird because wouldn't they have spaceships, but whatever, still cool. So with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, the United States dispatches soldiers, including Sergeant Nathan Hale, an experienced Army Ranger who you play as. Upon arriving in England, the American troops that you fight with find themselves ambushed by a group of small but highly infectious Chimera, and in the chaos that ensues, your entire team is wiped out, leaving you alone and infected with the virus. Despite the odds, Hale manages to resist the virus's transformations, defying the Chimera's expectation. Instead, he gains incredible abilities, including superhuman reflexes and the ability to regenerate health. Armed with his newfound power, Hale leads the charge against the Chimera, determined to uncover the truth about these alien invaders and put an end to their reign of terror. I think the game's story is really well written and engaging. I think it's got a good mix of action, drama, with some nice sci-fi elements. There's even some horror elements. I mean, the first time you get captured by the Chimera in the game, it's pretty scary. I remember having to have somebody in the room with me when I played that mission when I was a kid. It creeped me out. And I think all the elements blend together really well. You never get taken out of the story. Nothing ever kind of comes from out of left field and you're like, wait, what? We're doing what now? I think the game setting in an alternate history timeline adds an extra layer of intrigue to the story as well. Because you don't really know what this world is like or its lore, you're kind of discovering new details about the world and the Chimera as you play. I think the characters, I don't know, they don't need to be super developed. I think the story develops them as much as they need to. Like, you're never really going to know too much about all the characters in this game, but you get the gist of them, and that's all you need. And I think players become invested in this world itself more than the characters. Like, yeah, Nathan Hale's a real cool character. I can see people getting attached to him, but every other character in the story, not so much. I think people care more about the lore and the universe than maybe the characters. So I want to talk a little bit more about the lore. So the world of Resistance Fall of Man, as I mentioned, is an alternate history version of Earth set in 1951, in which a mysterious virus has infected almost all of Europe, transforming its citizens into the Chimera. The Chimera are a hostile alien race that has come to Earth to conquer it, and they are far more advanced. than humans in terms of technology and military tactics. As you play the story, you first think it's some alien invaders that landed in Russia, but as you play, and it's a part of the story of the main campaign, the Chimera are finding huge towers, and the British military has no idea why. But then you find out they're not building or discovering towers, they're excavating them. They're digging them up, which means that those towers have been here millions of years and that the Chimera have been on Earth long before humans were even a thing. When I first played this game as a kid, this part just blew my mind. I don't know why. It literally hit me out of nowhere. I know it doesn't seem like the craziest twist, but I love how this first game just it makes you ask questions about the universe and gets you invested in this. Like, you want to know, why is Nathan Hale able to resist the virus? Are there others like him? How long have they been here and what's their ultimate goal? Why did they decide to just invade now? I think the game's lore is really well developed and it gives a lot of attention to the world's history, the game does. I mean, you learn more about the Chimera's culture and the virus. I think it's really cool how you're always discovering new information about the world, and the sequels do a great job of expanding on it more. I mean, there was even at one point in time a movie in the works about it, which really just shows you the type of lore and dedication they took to the game. So now I'm going to talk about the legacy that this game left. Resistance Fall of Man was a critical and commercial success upon its release, earning high praise for everything that I've outlined so far in this video. I mean, high praise for its unique weapons, engaging storyline, challenging gameplay. The game went on to spawn 2 direct sequels, Resistance 2 and 3. My personal opinion, I think I like number 1's story the most. And then I think 2 and 3 are pretty cool. I think I like 3 better than 2. Although, I mean, I think every game in the main series is pretty good. It also had a spin-off game, Resistance Retribution, for the PlayStation Portable. The Resistance series was known for its innovative weapons and unique enemies, which helped it stand out in the crowded first-person shooter marketplace. The series also offered a unique take on alternate history, imagining a world where humanity fought for survival against a powerful alien race. But despite the success of the series, Resistance has faded into obscurity in recent years. Insomniac Games has moved on to other projects, and they have said they have no plans of making another one, not even a remaster or anything. They haven't completely disavowed it. They'll still post about it on their Instagram on anniversaries, so they haven't forgot about it, but they just have no plans for a new game. However, the legacy of Resistance Fall of Man lives on. The game was a standout launch title for the PlayStation 3 and helped establish that console as a contender in the FPS market. The game's unique weapons and challenging gameplay inspired other developers to think outside the box when creating their own FPSs. So I think in conclusion, Resistance Fall of Man was a groundbreaking game that helped establish the PlayStation 3 as a serious gaming console. The game's unique weapons, challenging gameplays, and engaging storyline helped it stand out in a crowded market. Although the series has faded into obscurity in recent years, the legacy of Resistance Fall of Man lives on, inspiring other developers and still having lots of fans and people who enjoy the game. That's all I have. This was just kind of a bit of a retrospective that I wrote up on Resistance Fall of Man. If you're still watching the video, thank you so much. If you liked it, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I mean, hey, that's it. This has been Conduit Gaming. Have a nice day.